German archaeological team is making some pretty interesting finds along the northern coast of Germany that abuts the Baltic Sea. These finds are specifically Neolithic and Mesolithic sites, ancient sites where people lived, where they hunted, where they fished, where they foraged for all sorts of food from the sea and from the land. More importantly, they have discovered something while digging that I find extremely interesting. The sites are dated between 8,500 and 5,500 BCE. Specifically, the Wismar Bight in the west and the island of Rügen in the east. The sites in Rügen and the Straussland were concentrated on the wetland sites above the modern sea level. So because of the rising of the sea levels just through natural cycles of the planet, some of these sites are underwater, some of them are in wetlands, and some of them are in drylands. Pretty much 8,000 years ago, probably even longer, there were different settlements based on fishing and hunting and gathering and farming. And based on these excavations archaeologists in Germany are doing, one team has discovered a pretty unique knife, and it's known as the Ostee II site. So I've been calling this blade the Ostee Knife. I thought it'd be something interesting to make, more importantly use, because you could see a lot of different tools that have been made, but until you actually make the tool and then do something with it, whether you hunt with it, you butcher with it, you cut up plant fibers or carve wood, it's kind of a best guess. So in my practices, I really like to make that tool and then see how it can be used. Maybe I can use this Ostee knife in a future bison butchering, or maybe I can use it in some bow making. It kind of reminds me as a draw knife in other ways, and maybe like a little utility blade for carving and shaping different types of materials. When we look at the Ostee knife, it looks like a T. It has a long sort of flake that's sticking out of it, held together with some wood and a whole bunch of cordage. I've got different options as far as a stone. I think I'm going to go with one of these Pedernales chert chunks and see if I can pull off a long flake. It's very likely that these knives were produced and kind of used frequently. I'm sure it was a long-term tool, but something that could be easily replaced. I think that's the material I want. Sharp, good edge. Oh, we'll save that flake. I'm kind of looking to create something of a blade core where I can have a core bit of material and remove blades off of it. That's what the stone looks like on that Ostee knife. I want a long enough piece, but I got to make sure my material is strong. Alright, that looks good. But I've got to be careful because I'm kind of coming to this crack right through here. So if all this breaks off, we'll just adjust, but I want to pull off a couple blades. Cleared that out, which is good. Let's see if we can get this right here. There we go. That one could work. Trim up that edge a little bit. Looking for a blade that's sitting like about that long. So that's a possibility. Set it off to the side. A little bit of a swoop. So this right here, remember how there was that crack sitting there? Hit this piece and it sheared it all off. That's not an issue. I'd rather get through that crack. More importantly, this stone's been sitting outside. And when I look at it, when this flake came off, I see this discoloration. That's where the crack was, and that's where water and different sediments have been kind of getting in there, possibly expanding it. Still not a bad flake. I would just have to remove a lot of this bulb here, which could be done. So I'll set it off to the side. This spot right here, maybe right through this might give me a little bit cleaner surface to work from. Doing this, I'm looking to punch the stone into this platform here and drive that whole flake off. There we go. That's a good one. More importantly, I've cleaned up the face of this core. Yes, this one's got a little cortex on the edge. That right there is still a good flake to work into some sort of projectile or even use it in the Ostee knife. that. I can trim that, drop my bulb. That would work. Good flake. This hammerstone's good. I gotta grab a little less stone. Good flake. I like that one. That one would work. Yeah, now we're getting into that crack. See that coloring? Water's been getting in there. Not the best. Yeah. Then the later pile. Save that. Save that. That could work. Yeah. We're getting into some chossy discolorations from water exposure, different cracks and breaks. I can see another crack running right through here. Alright, we're about done with that guy. So I've got a good number of flakes here. I think out of the ones really based off that Ostee knife design, I think this one here. Whew. Note to self, if you ever drop flakes in between your legs, do not try to catch them with your legs. You're looking at a puncture wound or something worse. Yeah, I'm feeling this one. This one right here, a little bit more shaping. I think we'll be good to go. These two are my choices. I'm going to start with this one. I'll use this one as a backup. So when we take another look at that Ostee blade, one thing that we'll notice is the bulbar percussion is actually the hafted end of the flake. So when we look at this flake right here, this is my bulbar percussion. That's going to go in the hafting of the wood and then ultimately wrapped. This is connected. This is the flake, and it looks like the end was broken off. So I'm going to reshape this edge, reshape this edge, break off this tip. Then I will have the blank for my Ostee knife. Now I'm going to try and break this edge. There we go. One hit there. Shock. Oh, that broke. That's my fault. Let's get you back up. Go to this guy. Whew, that's a lot of mass. I think that will work perfectly for that Ostee knife. All right, really the next phase in this is taking a piece of wood. I'm going to use some willow. It's seasoned. It's nice and strong. I'm going to cut it to length, and that will sit kind of like a T, just like this, for that Ostee blade. I have a variety of cordages that I'm going to use to wrap it up. Based on my research, there wasn't any pitch or anything involved in actually holding the knife to the piece of wood. So I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to wrap it tight. First I'm going to start with a little bit smaller wrap so I can get nice and tight in there, then use a bigger wrap and then kind of seal it and smooth it out with a little bit smaller piece of reverse wrap cordage. What I'm going to do is kind of score around it and then snap break it. This is just kind of giving my little score cut a little bit of a guide. If you break a piece of material, you can get some runs. even a small groove called a score cut. When you break it, you get a little bit cleaner break. That's easy to manage and take off the end, but I'm looking to do 2 of these. Good. 2 handle pieces. Let's scrape a little of this bark off. Reason why, I'm not going to take it all off, but as I'm scraping I kind of create little grooves, and that helps the cordage just kind of grab on there a little bit. Being that this handle piece is going to be wrapped up with cordage, just make sure it's got some texture to kind of hold on to. So in the middle now of each of these pieces, I'm going to kind of just take a little recess so it kind of like sits in there and drops in there nice and neat. So I'm just going to take a stone flake and just kind of carve some of that out. Pinch the blade, the tail end of the blade, in between in that little groove. My first wrap is really going to be to secure and keep this pinch, don't move, as tight as I can. Just so I can get it in there where it's staying put and it's not going to fall out. So I'm squeezing as hard as I can these 2 pieces of willow, and I'm just going to create that first little bit of binding wrap. This finer cordage is really just going to give me an opportunity to secure the blade, stay put, and keep it pinched. And I need to create a little bit of kind of a corded shoulder. When you look at the original sketches of the Ostee knife as well as the actual artifact itself, there's a little bit of a shoulder that comes down from the blade kind of into that handle. So I'm going to create a little bit of a corded shoulder, and it's going to give it a little bit of a neck, and that neck will help secure the blade in between the willow. Seat it in. Now I'm going to do some wraps around the base of the blade to kind of give that neck. So it's tight already just because it's pinched in between there. Now I'm going to give a little bit more of that shoulder coming up. I'm just really securing just one end of this. So first means of securing it, I'm going to do one more wrap with some lighter cordage all the way around the handles, and then move to my thicker, bigger stuff to really lock it in place. So both these handles are wrapped. Now I'm going to start to really focus on this shoulder, giving it a little bit stronger neck. Back this way. So now I'm going to go back to that real fine stuff and just clean it all up and get her ready to start carving. spot on. A little wax on here. I imagine they would probably do something to kind of treat this material. I mean, dry fibers aren't the best when you're really hoiking down on things, but if it gets wet, if there's any moisture around, this can help kind of prolong the life of the overall tool. Looks pretty similar to the actual recovered artifact. Everything is said and done, we have one Ostee knife, a very funky style of knife, elongated blade, and kind of a T handle. But let's do some carving and shaping with it, see how it actually works. Yeah. I mean, this is definitely removing big chunks of, shaving the wood down. She will definitely do some carving. More importantly, blade is really snug on the inside. I can see why this was a good little wood shaping tool. I even imagine if I had a fish laying flat, it'd be easy to kind of open it up and just come right down the belly and do some gutting, especially because this was found in those coastal regions. Could have been a simple fillet knife, wood carving knife, could probably even scrape a hide in that manner with that broken end of the flake. I mean, this could literally be that kind of tool that they kept in their tool bag and used for all sorts of cutting, carving, and slicing projects. When everything is said and done, the Ostee knife, is there a clear definition on what it was used for? No, we don't know. It's kind of a best guess. But based on the blade and the handle, it was definitely held in the hand. And in my opinion, definitely used like a draw knife. I said even processing fish, it just gives you more leverage. Yes, I could hold a flake and get some of those same outcomes. But imagine holding a razor sharp flake, even working the edges down, and trying to use it as a draw knife or something to slice with. The Ostee blade just gives you that handle, gives you something solid and rugged to hold on to. More importantly, if this guy was really starting to wear down and chip and break and shorten out, undo your cordage, pop another flake, pinch it in there, start wrapping it, and you can get a blade into action. From a practicality standpoint, very practical. From the other resources you need to make it, definitely got to have the cordage, stone, never an issue in the Paleolithic, Mesolithic, or Neolithic era, but a very cool knife that I will definitely use in some future projects. That is the Ostee knife. Appreciate you watching.